The tropical sun beat down relentlessly on the shimmering waters of the South China Sea, casting a golden glow that belied the tension simmering just beneath the surface. For the Philippine supply boat crew, what should have been a routine mission was anything but ordinary. Each sailor scanned the horizon, nerves taut, aware that every trip into these contested waters carried new risks. Their small, weathered vessel was loaded with food, water, and medicine, lifelines for the Marines stationed aboard the BRP Sierra Madre, a rusting warship intentionally grounded years ago at Second Thomas Shoal to assert the Philippines' claim. Suddenly, the calm was shattered. Chinese Coast Guard ships, larger and more imposing, surged into view, forming a tight blockade and cutting off the Filipino boat's path. The Filipino captain, hands steady on the wheel, pressed forward. He knew international law was on his side, but in these waters power often spoke louder than rights. The crew braced themselves, hearts pounding, as the Chinese ships drew closer. Without warning, a powerful jet of water from a Chinese ship's cannon slammed into the Filipino boat. The force shattered windows, sent equipment flying, and left sailors scrambling for cover as water flooded the deck. As chaos erupted, Chinese personnel in inflatable boats swarmed around the supply vessel, blocking every escape route and intimidating the Filipino sailors with aggressive maneuvers. Amid the confusion, one Filipino sailor was seriously injured by flying debris, a stark reminder of how quickly a standoff could turn deadly and how close the two nations were to open conflict. The mission was aborted. Supplies meant for the outpost never made it. The battered boats, windows shattered and hulls dented, limped back to port, their crews shaken and wounded. News of the confrontation spread rapidly. Footage of the attack was broadcast around the world, igniting outrage and concern. The South China Sea, already a flashpoint, now seemed even closer to the brink of crisis. For President Marcos Jr. and his government, the incident was a moment of reckoning. The nation watched as leaders gathered in urgent meetings, weighing their next move. Radical transparency, sharing real-time footage and evidence, had exposed China's actions to the world, but it had not deterred further aggression. The stakes were higher than ever. With tensions at a breaking point, both sides faced a stark choice: escalate and risk war, or step back and seek a new path. The world held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. After the violent June clash, which shocked the region and drew international concern, the world watched anxiously as tensions threatened to spiral out of control in the South China Sea. In the days that followed, diplomats from the Philippines and China scrambled for a solution, holding urgent meetings behind closed doors and reaching out to regional partners for support. By July 2024, after weeks of tense negotiations, both sides announced a provisional agreement. The focus was clear: to ensure the safe passage of resupply missions to the BRP Sierra Madre, a grounded ship that had become a symbol of Philippine presence at Second Thomas Shoal. Under the deal, China would allow Philippine resupply missions, but only if the Philippines limited them strictly to humanitarian provisions, food, water, and medicine, for the small military contingent aboard. The full terms of the agreement were never made public, but its impact was felt immediately. For the first time in months, a fragile peace settled over the contested waters of Second Thomas Shoal. Several resupply missions followed without incident, a rare sign of stability in a region long plagued by maritime standoffs and close encounters. The truce allowed both governments to save face, lower tensions, and reassure their citizens that war had been averted, at least for now. Yet, beneath the surface, the peace remained fragile and limited. New confrontations soon flared elsewhere in the South China Sea, reminding everyone that the underlying disputes were far from resolved. The July agreement was a temporary patch, a necessary pause, but not a solution to the deep-rooted territorial and political disagreements that continued to simmer. Still, it marked a tactical pivot for both Manila and Beijing, signaling a willingness to step back from the brink and explore diplomatic options, even if only for a moment. Diplomacy, though difficult and often frustrating, had yielded a crucial pause in hostilities, giving both sides time to reconsider their next moves. The struggle for control and influence in the South China Sea, however, was far from over. The world would be watching what happened next. The July agreement was the result of months of escalating confrontations between the Philippines and China in the South China Sea. Tensions had been simmering for years, but in 2023 and 2024, they reached a boiling point, with each side unwilling to back down. In February 2023, a Chinese Coast Guard ship aimed a military-grade laser at a Philippine vessel, temporarily blinding the crew and sparking outrage in Manila. The incident was widely condemned, highlighting the growing risks faced by Filipino sailors on the front lines of the dispute. By August, Chinese ships escalated their tactics, using powerful water cannons to block Philippine resupply missions to outposts in contested waters. These aggressive actions made it nearly impossible for the Philippines to support its personnel stationed on remote reefs and shoals. Confrontations at sea became almost routine, with collisions and aggressive maneuvers increasing in frequency. Each encounter risked sparking a larger conflict, as both sides accused each other of dangerous provocations. The Philippines responded by publicizing every incident, rallying international support, and drawing attention to what it called Chinese intimidation. Protests erupted in Manila and the world watched as tensions mounted. In June 2024, just after China passed a controversial law allowing its Coast Guard to detain foreign vessels in disputed waters, a violent clash erupted. The new law heightened fears among neighboring countries and set the stage for further confrontation. During the clash, Chinese forces rammed and boarded Philippine boats, injuring a Filipino sailor. The incident shocked the region and underscored the real human cost of the standoff. This marked a dangerous escalation, raising fears that a single miscalculation could trigger a wider conflict involving not just the Philippines and China, but potentially their allies as well. The constant brinkmanship took a heavy toll on both sides. Exhausted crews faced relentless tension at sea, and the status quo became increasingly unsustainable as each incident pushed the limits of restraint. The July agreement was a necessary off-ramp from this cycle of escalation, offering a fragile hope for de-escalation and dialogue. It was a moment of relief, but also a reminder of how close the region had come to disaster. Yet beneath the surface, the underlying tensions and disputes over territory and sovereignty remained unresolved, leaving the future of the South China Sea as uncertain as ever. The Philippines is no longer relying solely on the United States for security. President Marcos Jr.'s strategy is to build a network of partners, forging new ties with Asian and European powers. Recent defense deals with Germany and France, and a historic reciprocal access agreement with Japan, have strengthened Manila's position. Japan and India are providing advanced hardware, while Australia and the US join regular joint patrols. This minilateralism creates flexible coalitions, making the Philippines a central player in regional security. By weaving together these partnerships, Manila is no longer isolated. It now stands at the heart of a collective front for a free and open Indo-Pacific. Despite new partnerships, the US-Philippines alliance remains the cornerstone of Manila's defense. The US has reaffirmed its commitment under the Mutual Defense Treaty, deterring further aggression. The Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement has expanded, with new sites near Taiwan and major infrastructure upgrades. The US deployed a Typhoon missile system to the Philippines, providing a new deterrent but drawing China's ire. Washington has pledged $500 million to modernize the Philippine Navy and Coast Guard. Joint patrols and exercises with the US, Japan, and Australia send a united message. The American alliance anchors Manila's security and its growing network of partners. Together, they present a formidable front in the South China Sea. At the heart of Manila's strategy is international law, anchored by the 2016 Arbitral Tribunal ruling. The ruling invalidated China's 9-dash line and affirmed the Philippines' rights in its exclusive economic zone. China rejects the ruling, but Manila uses it as diplomatic leverage, rallying global support for a rules-based order. In response to new Chinese claims, the Philippines has codified the ruling into national law and is considering further legal action. This legal approach is a powerful tool, framing the dispute as a test of the global legal system. The Philippines fights not just with ships, but with the power of law. It's a battle it has already won once and continues to champion. Confrontations with China have exposed the need for a stronger Philippine military. Manila is investing $35 billion in a modernization program, shifting focus from internal security to territorial defense. New acquisitions include BrahMos cruise missiles from India and advanced warships from South Korea. The Coast Guard is receiving larger, more robust patrol vessels, many from Japan. The Philippines is also exploring advanced US weapon systems, including the Typhoon missile. The goal isn't to match China's might, but to create a porcupine defense, making the country a difficult target. This modernization is about deterrence, not escalation. The Philippines is building a credible force to defend its sovereignty. The message, aggression, will come at a high cost. The Philippines stands at a crossroads, balancing confrontation and cooperation in the South China Sea. The July 2024 agreement brought a pause, but the core conflict remains. Manila's new alliances and military upgrades have transformed it into a proactive regional player. But these moves carry risks. China may see them as provocation, raising the danger of escalation. Domestic debates over strategy continue, shaping foreign policy choices. The challenge ahead is to maintain a credible defense while keeping diplomatic channels open. Future diplomacy may focus on codes of conduct and crisis management. The Philippines' coalition of partners will be crucial for sustained pressure. This is a test of whether middle-power diplomacy can succeed in a world of great power rivalry. The South China Sea remains a central arena in the struggle for peace and stability.